Well, morning zombies, what's going on? Or actually, I say afternoon zombies. It's only about 10 after noon. And it is October 19th, 2022. Sorry about that. I had to get the dog food fixed for my mother. My little dog, which I call Zimada. And she's very picky of what she eats and how she eats it. So I'm struggling all the time feeding her. She's gotten older, she's gotten more finicky. She can't stand the canned stuff, so I am forced to come up with other alternatives to feed her. It's just a pain in the ass sometimes, but it is what it is. So it's boiling chicken, maybe giving a little sulfur flavoring, just a little bit. I know they can't have too much salt or almost any salt, but for a lady about 16, 17 years old, I need to give her some kind of flavoring for the damn thing, and I don't need to keep doing it because I know I'm going to screw up her digestive system. I've already seen that happen. Give too much garlic to a dog, and oof, I've seen that. It's not nice, it's not pleasant. And it's not pleasant for her either. But in the meanwhile, feed her what I can. I'm always going to talk about TikTok and progressives and TikTok having issues and social media having major malfunctions left and right. Instead, I've ended up talking about my dog because I thought my dog was a little bit more important than dealing with politics and social media companies and platforms having connection fits left and right because certain words were used in certain actions and they shouldn't have been. And people have got community actions left and right on these social medias that sometimes they seem to be too damn strict and people freak out about it. And I keep remembering it's their roof, it's their party, it's not mine. I just knocked on the door and thought anybody was home. And since somebody was home, I still have to abide by the rules. You just can't walk into someone else's house and expect to be at home. This is somebody else's house. The social media should not be treated any other differently, but it is. People expect certain ideas or ideologies, or they expect something to correspond or correlate with them. Something you might have something in common. Possibly the person that you know that you're knocking into going into the room and then trying to see if they're home. And if they are home and they're welcoming you in, fine. But you got to remember that you're being welcomed into their own environment, which means you're subject under their rules and regulations, whatever the hell that may be. But the problem is, uh, I don't run my house. My dog runs my house. Give me a minute. I'm dealing with Psychopath from Mars. My dog. I know she wants to go play. And the truth of the matter is, I like to go play with her at this point over here. This is not the right time. Because every time I want to do something, she's got to be doing something. If I want to go sit down and eat, she's got to do it. See, I don't know who runs the household more, her or me. But there's an example of this all. You see, I inherited it. I inherited my dog from my family, who also had her as well, and another one, another companion, who was actually my dog. And little girl is running around like a mad woman. No, I'm not using that. Don't even get me started, woman. Shit, she's on a kick again. But this is my house, my rules. that are being written by her half the time anyway. She must be obeyed. If I want to keep the floors somewhat clean enough, I have to keep her happy and motivated by walking her outside when I can. Having her do her business outside before she does it in here. And then get stuck cleaning the damn thing up. When you're in a platform situation, you're under their roof. You're under their house rules, their guidelines, their community guidelines, their code of ethics, their code of behavior. You're under them, and they're inviting you to have a small portion of their land to communicate or do whatever you need to, but under considerations. I've heard people balk at this damn thing online in different social media platforms like crazy, and they're idiots. I swear they're all idiots. They don't realize that you're under someone else's roof. You got to put this into perspective. You got to put this into context. And the context is, you keep this crap up, they're not going to keep up with your crap. They're going to kick your ass out. Plain and simple. Now, if I really started to use the platform I'm using right now for my own misguided, nefarious, and insane ideas at this point over here, let's say if I could just put something and it's going to do catch what I'm saying? And then get a letter from YouTube saying, we don't like what you just put up. We don't like the comment you just said. What are you doing? We're going to put you in a little bit of a timeout. Which, of course, they did to me during the biological nightmare we had for over a couple of years. And still expanding it. But, when quarantine was engaged, that's when I really call it a nightmare during that time. And during the quarantine of the biological nightmare on Elm Street, I said a few things in sarcasm and trying to compare a few things from Group A to Group B. And when I said them, it was and they looked at it as misinformation. Because at the time they were still gathering all the information necessary and they were trying to screen out everything that was not coming out from the CDC. And not coming out, not from the White House, but from the CDC. They wanted to make sure everything was copacetic with what was going on. Meanwhile, people are chanting and freaking out and having conniption fits and saying, and YouTube is like, that's the wrong attitude, that's the wrong sayings, and you just put them on here. You can't say that. Off with their heads. Digital heads, actually. Remove their icons and their virtual experiences here. Remove them digitally, I say. The social media platform, command it. It's against the community and it's against the guidelines. Be gone with them, I say. Be gone, be gone, be gone. Be gone, be gone, be gone. And as for this mere mortal on here, a warning from me. Yeah, so I got off. About a week's worth of non-posting anything else on there drove me nuts. So I couldn't be as sarcastic as I wanted to be regarding these people. I was really, really feeling it. I was really feeling the political edge at that point over here. And if I have to remind myself, during that time I had my channel labeled the Diary of a Mentally Ill. Diary of Mentally Ill. That was me. Because I still was considered mentally ill. Not until I rediscovered I was still grieving like crazy, so switched it over to the Diary of the Griever named John Weaver, which is me. I am John Weaver. I'm the host of two names of the same platform here. The platform originally was trying to talk about my mental health illnesses before COVID, or actually during the COVID situations, and afterwards. But since I'm discovering more and more that I still had more and more pain and more grieving issues and more mourning issues and a hell of a lot of triggers out there left and right, I had to switch it over to the Diary of the Griever named John Weaver title to deal with that, not to mention my own damn head games going on at this point. There's no way in hell I'd be able to go into a workplace and try to work like crazy. I mean, people are expecting you to be doped up like crazy. Either you're going to be taking the cannabis or you're going to be taking a doctor's prescriptions. Otherwise, you need to be functioning normally. And I said to myself, I'm not doing that to myself. I am not doing that to myself. I know I'm a guy in trouble. It's one thing to go into a group session and talk about stuff like this. It's another thing going to a behavioral therapist and jump through hoops. Their hoops. And I know their thing is going to say, "You did that to us! How dare you! You came to us for help! We, the medical establishment, were supposed to be helping you, but you dare to insult us! Who do you think you are?" And then get this nice big attitude, an inflated ego, and they're rising up out of their seats and they're levitating like the Exorcist here, with a finger pointing at you saying, "How dare you! You came to us for help. And now you're not going to have that help anymore." Now that's all I need from an attitude from a therapist. Oh, I can laugh and I joke about it because sometimes I wake up from naps, my neurochemistry is situated to a point where I'm not triggered, I'm not ready to go, I'm fine. But I will recognize certain triggers when certain words come out, or certain actions I see, or any thoughts kind of coming through my way, and then I'm really screwed. Now, as for the salty language used on the channel, when I do my regular logs, I'm saltier than usual. And then when I'm trying to be communicative in another way, try to be sophisticated and intelligent, I try not to use the language as much, at least that kind of language anyway. But some people will use it and slip and not quite sure what the Sam Hill happened to them as they're falling down on a face and just looking up with a face full of mud and saying, "What happened?" So all you need is the social platforms looking at you. "You got dirt on your face. You're not allowed here. It's according to our community guidelines. No dirt on your face. Off with his digital head. Get him out of here." "But all I did was slip down the fall and get a film of it." "Funny. Out, we say. We have a clean environment here. We're so clean, we make Mr. Clean look like a dirty rat." The behaviors we have to deal with on social media, sometimes we go crazy over that because it is their house. But you have to look at it in a different way here. I know I'm sounding like I'm in a compromising situation over here because I don't want to throw myself out of this damn house. I like using the platform of YouTube. Therefore, I got to be subjugated to it. I like using the platform of Facebook. I behave myself, but still act like a jerk sometimes, but not going overboard where I'm really attacking people saying, "Aha! Here's a person I get to holler at." That used to be a friend of mine. Now I can do something graphic here, and then say something like, the next thing I know, I'll probably get an email or something on the messages in the inbox saying, "Did you just raise your hands and send something incomprehensible? Don't you know that's against the community guidelines at this point? You're scaring the living crap out of people left and right. And how dare you scratch your mustache?" I scratch it because it's tickling me and it's itching me and I got things growing out of it. No, don't tell me medical conditions. That's another thing against the community guidelines. You're not supposed to say anything about medical conditions. You're not getting close to the thing I think you're coming across, are you? You're not being one of them, are you? Not really. I'm just a guy doing voiceovers and character improvisations while trying to make a point. That's what I'm trying to do. Well, that's against the community guidelines at this point right here. You know, things get ridiculous when things like this happen like this. But that's the issues we have to deal with in social media, isn't it? I try to keep the language clean and comical at this point over here with the because that's the only thing I can say without having a grammar police coming down or sneaking around the corner over here saying, "You can't say that." Well, what are they going to do? Reach through my laptop and say, "You can't say that." Well, I said it. You're out of here. You can't even do any recordings on your laptop. We're confiscating your laptop. Oh, wait just a second here. If it happens to get that bad, we're really in trouble. We talk about First Amendment rights. And what about our rights of due process? What about possessions 9/10 of the law? What about anything like that? When I got somebody coming through the door and saying, "I'm taking this because you violated the internet, you violated the platforms, you violated everything else." But I didn't say anything. That's the point. I know it's getting ridiculous these days, isn't it? We see ourselves doing this kind of crap all the time. TikTok is going after people. Instagram's going after people. Twitter's going after people. Facebook's definitely going after people. So is Google. So is YouTube. Because there's certain things and certain behaviors we keep doing left and right. And I can name names. I can name the actions, the different verbs and words, and the different videos I've come across that are being scattered about and shared like crazy, which is driving the communities crazy. Not to mention the auditors and the censors and everybody else. Now, how would you feel? Getting back to the example of the house. Let's not think about the house of the mouse, okay? Let's just think about a house, okay? A place of dwelling. A place where people live and sleep and eat. And use the restroom. And just shower themselves and relieve themselves and cook food for themselves and take care of everything else they've got to take care of underneath the roof, including bug wars. Daytime the bugs are not as bad, and nighttime they're worse. Hiding about, huddled about, and praying that it gets dark again so they can go out and terrorize again. Imagine if Google and every other social media out there started to have problems with people talking about insect problems. Infestations of sorts, possibly. Little peace ants. Major roaches. Bed bugs. Little tiny flies. All this stuff we have to deal with in life. Imagine having your house being invaded like that. I have. I am. Yeah, it's always so fun to get in a fly infestation at this point over here. Hang up strips left and right, and they look grosser than hell. And then dealing with the roaches, I got strips I have to still put down left and right with peanut butter on them. See if that'll work for a few days or longer than that. Bed bugs at a cooking place. 160 degrees and clean up everything. Or live out of bags and boxes and boxes and bags and stuff. Not very fun for me. Next thing. Little piss ants coming up from everywhere looking for water. And then here comes the chemical trails I have to leave out left and right for these guys to leave me alone. Fun apartment living, isn't it? Well, it's also a house living. So imagine if you happen to come into someone's house with an insect invasion like that. How are you going to be behaving? Without even realizing that the house actually has problems inside of it, how are you going to be expected to behave? You're a guest. Either you got invited over here or you're an uninvited guest. You just knocked on the door and want to come in. If I'm a social media platform with an open door, you type in the address and you come up to the main website and it says sign up or log in. Log in is for those who have the keys. Slam! And they're in and they're doing whatever they want to do. But you as a newcomer, bang, 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 bang. I have here terms and conditions. Read every syllable, every letter. Then click the box down below. I can't even see the damn boxes. They're like light year down the road. Don't be funny. Scroll, 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 scroll. Up here, start scrolling. Here, start scrolling. Start getting old and wrinkly here. Finally. I got it, finally. I finally got the damn thing over here. Now I just get this little mouse over here and it goes click. Can I come in now? You're too old, but welcome anyway. Our senior citizen centers are down here. Oh, I was going to look for something fun, like handball. Senior citizens, no handball for you. But I've been waiting out here for 5 years. I don't care. What I do? Slam! What can I do for you? I'm the guy you just slammed the door on. Did you fill out the terms and conditions? Yes, I did. Did I approve it? Did you? No, I didn't. You left too early. Well, I want to come in. Why? You let those other people in. They waited a century. You complained about 5 years. Didn't you know this was a dead man's party? He, he. That's not fair. You're too alive and too juicy. Wait until you do your last gasp, then come over here and come onto the platform. This is for dead people. He. Slam! Of course, this doesn't exactly happen like that, but still, this is exaggeration. Of course, once you get into the platform and actually you're hopefully still alive and still juicy and still pumping blood throughout your system over here, You got to see and check things out. But you also have to keep remembering that the thing that you already clicked on was the terms and conditions. I mean, you can set up your own damn avatar, make up your own personality, and say, I finally made it over here. And then you're wondering, what's all the strange looks around me right now? You feel this cold shoulder. That would be the watchdog. You're new here. I smelled you coming through. You're too alive, too fresh, too energetic. You read those terms and guidelines? Ah, good. I'll disappear for a while. You'll forget because you're having too much fun. You get into a certain situation over here, probably get into an argument with another person. Let's just say that you get into an argument over okay, let's make a hypothetical controversial situation here on a social media platform, shall we? Now, this could be misconstrued as the world's greatest and absolute snack food that's guaranteed to do a lot of good things to your body, not to mention keep perfect teeth. Of course, the other argument is going to be saying, this is junk food, sugars, chemicals, acidity, cavities, blood sugar, blood pressure. You don't need this. You see our two sides right now. Over Pop-Tarts. Or the generic equivalents of them, but it doesn't matter. It's still the same thing. Flaky pastries baked. They have jam filling inside. Some of them get icing on the top and others don't. But still, how they're constructed, why they're constructed, little semantics of the argument. We're going to get into a full-blown here. I like Pop-Tarts. I don't like Pop-Tarts. Why don't you like Pop-Tarts? Because I say so. So now we got a verbal argument going on social media platforms. We've got other people jumping into the fray. They're into the postings and reading this thing. They're like, "What the hell is going on?" And they're getting the administrator's attention at this point over here. Not to mention someone else is saying, "This ain't right." So they go over to not the group's administrator. They go over to the platform's administrator and say, these guys are arguing over Pop-Tarts. Is there anything you can do about it? So now you've got the eye of the auditors and the administrators and the computer system, which is the first one on the scene, looking at the argument and looking at both people. Are they following the community guidelines at this point over here? Are they promoting something? Are they demoting something? Are they creating so much havoc at this point? Is it just the one or both that need to be getting the boot, or just a proverbial timeout for a short time? Depending on what the algorithm says and depending on what the human says on the other side once it gets repealed. And at this point, if the argument is going to be racing into a major fuss of two heavy-duty parties that are going to be slamming each other because differences on Pop-Tarts. And anything regarding a smacking of fists will be considered against the community guidelines at this point over here. Anybody trying to look at the damn arguments is going to be considered going against the community guidelines. How many people can we either kick off or put on a timeout? Does this actually happen in your regular home? When you actually invite people coming through and they get a little bit rowdy? What do? You call law enforcement. If you can't control the damn party, if the group administrator can't control it, you're going to be calling in outside forces. Law enforcement. In the outside reality world, we deal with law enforcement in whatever badge, uniform, whatever they call themselves. Doesn't matter. They're the man. Okay. They're the law enforcement officer, the Leo. Let's be safer on that one, shall we? So at this point, we're dealing with the Leos here. They're here in the real world trying to make sure that we're behaving ourselves. But they have a hell of a time trying to do that when it comes down for cyber, the realm that we're always using from our devices to our laptops. And if we're not behaving ourselves one way or another, these guys have to get involved. And sometimes in the real world, the conflict of the inside becomes the conflict of the outside, and also vice versa. So now we got to deal with that. People forget human decency. They forget how to behave like human beings or decent beings, both in social and in reality check. This is what happens. These are the things I usually talk about to a lot of people when I'm actually able to do so without having a conniption fit, without having a trigger event, without being put into a situation where I'm waiting to be totally overgrossing in emotional tears. For the most part, I like talking about subjects like this. Things I've experienced, things I've seen, observed, gone through. Whether I've gone through and experienced the same thing. Or is it? Are we going to be doing the somehow? So, these are what I talk about in my videos. These are what I talk about in my videos. I act like a damn nut because sometimes I am a nut. And sometimes I talk like an intelligent, serious, hypocritical, oversensitive, or overbearing, or just to fill in the blanks on that one. But yeah, that kind of person sometimes. But I have to keep it within the guidelines. I have to keep myself within the guidelines because I value the time and I value the opportunity to use these platforms. Because if I don't know any other place to go to express. So I have to keep it. I have to keep it mellow. I have to keep it comical a little bit without going over the edge. Because somehow, dealing with these platforms, I know they're getting crazier and crazier because either their systems and the humans running it all have their own individual interpretations of what the community guidelines are supposed to be. And now we have an argument with these guys over it. I know I have too many damn times. But right now, I have to be grateful and trying to hold in the tongue as much as I can. Otherwise, the door just opened. And there's people coming out of my bedroom door. What's going on here? They're telling me to leave out of my own damn apartment? They haven't even signed the damn lease. Wait a second. I'm being picked up. What's going on here? No! I'm being left behind. No! You can't do this to me. Who do you think you're dealing with? I am me. I am me. I'm